There is perhaps no game I've ever encountered on the N64 as dark, visceral and disturbing as Shadowman. Released in 1999 from Acclaim Studio, Shadowman puts the player firmly into the shoes of Michael Lara, who when nighttime falls becomes the Shadowman, an immortal undead voodoo warrior capable of travelling back and forth from the land of the living and the land of the dead. Thanks to a voodoo mask permanently knitted into his ribcage from voodoo priestess Mama Nettie, Shadowman must use his powers to ensure that both live and dead side are safe from evil forces. After Nettie had a prophetic dream that 5 serial killers led by an evil demon called Legion are planning to cross over to Liveside with an immortal undead army, she quickly implores Mike to cross over to Deadside and set about preventing this apocalypse from occurring.
What's the problem, Magneta?
I had a dream, Shadowman, a real bad dream, a Deadside dream. The 5 are here, the herald of the apocalypse. He conspires, confirms everything I fear. The end's coming, Shadowman.
At a first glance, you can be forgiven for thinking that this is just another late-released platform game that tries to mirror its contemporaries. However, Shadowman is much more than that, fusing Tomb Raider-style platforming with an Ocarina of Time parallel world feel, and sprinkles in some Metroidvania structure and puzzles. You see, the main goal of the game is to collect Dark Souls, which are scattered all over Deadside and Liveside. You should think of the Dark Souls as the equivalent of the stars in Mario 64. The more you have, the more powerful you become, and the more areas and weapons you can access, and you get a step closer to uncovering more of the story. So you will be travelling back and forth to try and acquire as many as you can, and this is where the Ocarina of Time influences come in. You see, in Liveside, Mike is human and cannot use his shadow powers here, at least not yet. He has to rely on using standard weapons and medikits. With the use of his dead brother's teddy bear, however, Mike is then transported to Deadside where he can use his fantastical shadow abilities. So it's all about solving puzzles and platforming through both realms to try and figure out how to get those souls. The platforming and combat is pretty good, with Shadowman able to dole out damage with his trusty shadow gun. Now at the start of the game, Mike and Shadowman, despite being one and the same, are weak, and you will struggle trying to take down the zombies, flying deadwings and duppies. However, by again finding Dark Souls, the power of the gun increases, and you'll start to run towards enemies rather than run away from them.
Hey, you! This is private property. What the hell you think you're doing, boy?
I ain't your boy.
Don't you get uppity with me. You trespassing on my property. I can call you anything I choose, boy.
I will say that at first this game is very confusing, as it often propels you forward constantly before you're ready to leave, only to have you return to an area to try and retrace your steps. Shadowman is one of those games where you have to explore each area with a fine-tooth comb, and that's not easy. Each area, from the Louisiana swamp to the Paths of Shadows, the asylum and its many areas, have many paths and secrets that cannot be accessed at first. Again, often you need to go forward to earn a new power or ability to then to be able to go back and to be able to take a new path.
And into asylum, like a great black engine roaring to eternity, ravaging the already benighted landscape with its savage, malevolent presence. And within the legions of the truly damned, insanity, sheer and stark.
You will at times be tearing your hair out, as this game doesn't really tell you what to do and doesn't seem to make much sense, throwing a lot at you before you're ready. However, I can say that with perseverance you start to understand why the game is structured as it is, and you begin to become more powerful. The game then starts to open up and will reward your patience if you give it a fair chance.
Okay, Nettie, I've got me all 3 pieces of L'Eclipse, so work your voodoo magic and bring on the night.
Sounds like a cue for a song, but this ain't no musical. Give me the blade. Lay down, Mike.
I thought you'd never ask. Is, this gonna hurt much?
Yes.
I thought so.
Shadowman also includes some of the best voice acting and cutscenes I've ever seen. There's just so much packed into the cartridge, it is unbelievable. I'm glad Acclaim didn't compromise by using just text, as it's such a breath of fresh air, especially when you meet the gatekeeper Jaunty, the Irish top hat wearing snake, who has some of the best dialogue ever.
Hello there, Michael. How's that treating you?
Jaunty, kindly refer to me as Shadowman. Michael Leroy has no place here in Deadside.
Whatever, Mick. It's good to see you again. Seems like simply ages since I last set my eyes on your happy, smiling mug.
Your feelings mutual.
I suppose you've been away dallying with the old battle axe, giving her one with some of that righteous voodoo so she can stay forever young?
Something like that.
She's been filling your head with her fated pillow talk again, I'll bet.
The graphics are just mind-blowing, with an incredible diverse set of locations which really push the N64. Deadside itself is huge, with areas all interlinked. Shadowman uses an engine called Vista, which allows the player to see buildings and locations far off in the distance with no fogging whatsoever. From the blood waterfalls to the impressive paths of shadows, everything can be seen very clearly, with each new location darker and more unsettling than the next. It's clear that Acclaim did their very best to make each one look and feel diverse. The first time seeing the massive asylum and Cathedral of Pain, I was awestruck, but also had a feeling of dread. Add to this the 5 serial killers locations, which give Resident Evil games a run for their money, with Avery Marks' New York apartment building with its broken floors and dark images on the wall being my personal favourite. Shadowman also uses the N64 expansion pack, and whilst this is not required to run the game, it does bump up the visuals and frame rate, giving it a more refined, polished look. Shadowman does control pretty well for the most part with the N64 controls. There are some issues with jumping and grabbing and targeting enemies, meaning you will have to be a little bit more precise than normal, which might lead to more than a few cheap deaths. You will soon be able to adapt though and work around it, so it's not a complete game breaker. Add to this an amazing soundtrack which will get stuck in your head, and you have one of the finest games on the system. Pick it up now and you won't be disappointed.